Hey there, I'm Lindsay Czarniak. Welcome back to NASCAR RaceHub. So this is the part in the show where I check in with different drivers at their homes with their families, because just like you and I, they're trying to manage these new uncertain times. Today I had a chance to catch up with Kevin Harvick, and what I loved about this conversation is he was in the midst of this wonderfully chaotic household with his two small kids and his wife Delana, and I learned so much about Kevin from this conversation that I didn't know before. But the thing that really blew my mind is he's really good at marriage advice. Here's Kevin. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us here. Where are you right now?
I'm in the dining room. So it's the mornings are pretty crazy around here because everybody's up. Today's not a school day, so Keelan doesn't really have anything to do, and Piper and Keelan are running around. So it's been different, but it's also been very good to have that quality time.
How are you feeling just with all of this going on and the pandemic that everyone's dealing with now? How has everyone been? Is everybody in your world safe, healthy?
Yeah, everybody's safe. We're just trying to abide by all the guidelines. So we've hunkered down at home and just tried to do everything that we can here. And our goal is to be better when we come out of this. So physically, I feel like I should be in the best shape that I've ever been in my life. I've been trying to really concentrate on that because if we do go back and it sounds like Charlotte, most likely will be the first race. You better be ready because 600 miles at Charlotte with your first race is going to be pretty taxing on just being out of the car and all of a sudden jumping right back in is going to be a challenge. So, and then in the end, Delaney and I just want to make sure that our house runs better than it did before we started this, because you're going to know more about everything that you have going on in your life. I'm going to know more about my kids. I'm going to know more about my wife. I'm going to know more about my house than anything that happened before. So we should be able to be better from a personal side of things when we get done with this mess.
What would you say, like, would be most important to you and paramount once the sport gets back going in terms of what it looks like for whatever amount of season we have left?
Yeah, I think for me, it's how do we, and this is the conversation that the world is having right now, and especially, but I would use our country for the most part. How do you get started back up safely? I think that is really the most important thing, is how do we fire this thing back up safely and be able to have the guys in the garage that are working around each other as comfortable as they can be to not get sick, because if this thing rebounds and takes back off and it gets in our garage or one of our race teams, it's going to be a bad deal. So the most important thing is when we fire back up is to have a plan that is safely intact to be able to keep everybody safe in our sport.
You talked about learning more about home and figuring out more about the kids and then your wife. How's Delana doing in all of this?
It's as much culture shock for her because we're very schedule oriented people, very organized. I feel like that's one thing that's helped me prolong my career, helps us have an edge on a lot of people just because of the fact that we are very organized and structured, and we've done this for a long time. It's a different balance of life, but it's been very good for her as well to understand what we need to do, how we need to do things, and we've had to communicate and in a different way than we did before, just because we're here every day together and we're around the kids every day together, and that's just it's not something we spent a lot of time with our kids before, but now there's zero relief. So how do you help each other stay balanced in the tough moments? The easy moments are so rewarding and a lot of fun, just because of the fact that those are moments that you may not have had while you're on the road.
So how have you guys worked on the communicating differently? That's interesting to me.
I think you just have to know that things are different, and you got to take a lot more breaths, in things that people think and things that people say, and you have to understand. We've been married. It'll be 20 years in February. So,
Wow.
so I think for us, it's the first thing that happened was the grocery stuff. How do we make sure we have enough food in the house, and how do we not go to the grocery stores? So navigating through stuff like that was pretty interesting in the beginning. And I don't think that stuff will change. I think that, I think that'll go forward. But and then just, how do we need to navigate school with Keelan? Who's going to do the teaching? And obviously that's her. I'm not smart enough to do the teaching unless it's math. But it's and then after the first week it was like, well, this isn't going to work. We got up too late, and I can't be with him all day. We're going to have to cycle through this and rotate around. So but it's really, and that's something that Delane and I do well. We communicate, and we can, when one of the other's having a bad day and somebody says something, we can turn our back on it and wait an hour and then say, man, you were a complete jerk there earlier. And you can blow it off. You can't let those things bother you, because that in the end that person has your best interest at hand, and she knows that about me as well. So you just kind of have to laugh about that stuff, and we've learned that through the years.
I just loved hearing Kevin's perspective on what he's learned throughout this time. One thing you probably know is that he is a diehard sports fan. What I didn't know is the amount of times Kevin Harvick has been to the Masters. That's next. Welcome back to NASCAR RaceHub. So structure is so important to Kevin Harvick, and I think part of the reason is probably because he might be the busiest driver in the sport, right? So driving is his day job, but then he also has KHI, the company he uses to manage other athletes. I didn't know a lot about that, and I was really fascinated to hear him tell the story of how it all started. So sports during this time, I know besides racing, you're obviously a huge sports fan too. What is your take about just what as a society we're missing most from sports right now?
Yeah, I miss being able to just flip it on. I like sports in general. So and you see in this particular instance that everything's not guaranteed. You realize pretty quickly how lucky you are and how lucky we all are to be able to have the privilege to watch sports, because sports are a privilege. Not only to be able to play, and for me to be able to participate in, but they're a privilege for all of us to watch. As much as we gripe about, oh man, that was a bad broadcast, or that was a crappy game, or whatever the case is, it's really not too bad right now. I'd watch a blowout anything at this particular point, just to have some sports, and you can only watch so many old games, and we're seeing a lot of old games and old races and iRacing and all the different things that are happening right now. But sports are a privilege.
And it's to your point, an entertainment and also a distraction, a positive distraction. I think that's a purpose that it serves for sure. Golf, we're right at the Masters time, right? So what is that like for you? I know that you're a huge fan of that event.
Yeah, it sucks because I've been to the Masters on Thursday with the folks from EasyGo for the last decade. They've been
every Masters Thursday. You haven't missed one?
I think I missed one, but it's, for the most part, I've been at the Masters every Thursday before whatever race that we go to, and it's just become kind of a tradition that we've done with those folks from EasyGo. And there's nothing quite like the Masters. There's nothing like leaving your phone, in the car and not being able to take it in, and being able to walk around that facility and just, see the events and drink beer and have a good time with your friends and talk. In the backyard, we have a little a little hole in the backyard that is about 50 yards. And we played
Amen Corner?
Pine Needles. Yeah, number 12. We kind of mimic number 12 there. So Keelan wanted to play a round of golf. So we teed off in the front tee box. We teed off in the back tee box. We teed off in the Pine Needles. We teed off from the little cabana back there. We teed off from the bushes, just trying to make up different holes. So we spend a lot of time in the backyard swinging golf clubs, just having fun.
That's interesting to me because the way you described what you love about the Masters is similar to the experience that everyone's being forced to have now, right? No,
100%.
Connect.
Absolutely.
Right. What does that mean?
Yeah, there's in the end, it's a terrible situation that's good for the world. I
Yeah.
think it's making everybody sit at home and think about all those things that you do with somebody else that right now you're thinking about, man, I would give my left arm to go sit in a restaurant and have a conversation with two adults over a beer that
Yeah.
are, that are your friends. Think about all those things that you do that you can't do right now that you take for granted, because it's whether it's sports, whether it's dinner, whether it's doesn't matter. All those people that and communicate with are going through the same thing, and it's just, I think it's making everybody realize that maybe we needed a reset, to really, care about each other and be in a situation to where, you're enjoying being around people and talking to people and doing things that you enjoy.
It's really interesting perspective. I also think that you have a unique. Oh, I hear them in the background.
What? What you got? What is it? We got a backpack.
Oh,
Sit
you
down.
have a backpack. Hi, Piper.
Are you going to school? No. What are you doing?
What's in your backpack?
Do you want to go outside?
Thank you.
You
Can
can,
I go with Keelan?
yeah, you can go with outside with Keely.
Oh my gosh, so precious. I was going to ask you about, you've got so many people, different athletes also that you in a sense manage, right, with KHI. I wanted to ask you how that started and how that came to be something that you really wanted to do in the first place.
Total accident. That's how it started. Absolutely. So back in about 2011-ish, I would say the Tap Out folks were on a fight tour, picking up fighters around the country, and Donald Cerrone was one of those fighters, and we had developed a little bit of a relationship with the guys from Tap Out. Got to know Donald through that, just a casual beer, and and when they came to Texas Motor Speedway, and started going to some of his fights, went to 3 or 4 fights, and he called one day and he said, "Hey, what do you think about managing me?" And I'm like, never really thought about it, but let me talk to everybody. And at that time we had shut down the race teams, didn't have really anything going on, but we still had all the people in the office that it took to manage everything that we did personally and my stuff professionally. So I'm like, man, let's just plug him into the system and act like it's me and do everything you do for me for him. And we started doing that, and Donald showed up at the first fight that we represented him in, with sponsors all over his shorts back when the UFC could have sponsors everywhere. And Misha Tate called. She said, "Man, what you're doing for Donald, can you do for me?" And we all sat down, had a conversation. Do we like what we're doing? And next thing you know, we had Donald and Misha Tate. And I guess the one piece that I forgot in that is Jason Gore was the first on the golf side. He's now the third in command at the USGA, and helps the USGA relate to the players, and he retired. But he helped us get our golf side started. We started managing Jason, but for them it's been very unique because we're small. We combine all of our sponsors together, and interact together and communicate with each other to try to fit into that system. And those guys like it because we're way outside of the box from most of the UFC fighters, managers, and the golf management. We do things totally different than everything that they had seen there, and the guys and gals that we've had and still have like that, and it's more of a boutique agency and something that just we chased a conversation that we thought was a good idea, and it's turned into what it is today.
I really enjoyed hearing about the management side and what's interesting in that world to Kevin Harvick. Coming up, we're going to talk to him about management as a father. Keelan and Piper are going to join the show. Stay with us. Welcome back to NASCAR RaceHub. I love seeing how the Harvicks have taken this extra time together and really turned it into some serious family bonding time. We've now learned that Kevin Harvick is a basketball coach. He is also a master griller. And what I did not know was apparently it's his daughter Piper who might be the true daredevil of the family. So Kevin, I mean, people I feel like know your family, but can you do the formal introduction here with what we've got going on?
Yeah, so we've got Piper and Keelan, and this is pretty much a daily activity. You know, it's every once in a while it turns into a scream or a yell or from somebody grabbing somebody or somebody not liking somebody else's comments, and but it does turn into some funny comments. You had some boogers last night, didn't you? Were they boogers or burgers? Burgers.
Burger.
So yeah. So we were eating burgers because we've decided that we're going to cook a lot more. So Dad's become the griller, and they're still the eaters, as you well know. That's all they want to do is eat. So we've had fun.
So what does that look like in the evenings with you out there cooking? What's the family dynamic like then?
Well, it's a process because a lot of times you have to start in the middle of the day to prepare all the meats. And then you got to get the grill ready. But usually Keelan has school, you know, and we try to get that done before lunchtime. And, you know, after we do school, then I've become the basketball coach as well. So we're doing our virtual basketball courses in the driveway. So we have everything from basketball practice to bike rides around the neighborhood. What else do we do?
iRacing?
Yeah, and iRacing usually happens at night. That's his favorite thing to do. But we try to get all the physical activity in before we eat dinner because usually once we eat dinner, it all starts to go downhill from there.
So Keelan, the iRacing, how's that been for you to get the time to do that with your dad?
Good.
What's
That's
your
it.
favorite part about it?
Racing my dad.
And that's been really good for us, actually, because I didn't know anything about iRacing at all. And Keelan got an iRacing simulator from Santa Claus, and it probably sat for the last month before all this happened, and we hadn't used it once the season started. So for me, it's been really good because, like, I'm just to the point where I'm figuring out how to download paint schemes and be able to comfortably get in and out of the computer. So this week we figured out how to download paint schemes. Keelan's got a brand new Legends car design.
Don't even say it.
I downloaded a My Little Pony paint scheme for Keelan's car, and he doesn't know how to undo it. So if anybody on iRacing sees the pink My Little Pony car, it's Keelan.
All right, we're going to play a little game now called My Son or My Daughter. Are you up for it? I'm going to describe something to you, and you tell me which one of your beautiful kids that this describes better.
Okay.
More likely to be a race car driver.
Ooh, I'd say Keelan.
Keelan, you think that's true? Mm-hmm. Even if it's a My Little Pony paint scheme, that's great. More likely to start a fight.
Ooh, that's definitely Piper.
It's in just a little bit.
Okay, that's okay. Stop.
You're taking care of your daddy. More likely to get in trouble.
I would say Piper. She's going to evolve to be the wild child in this whole little party here, aren't you? Are you crazy?
More likely to root for another driver.
That's definitely this knucklehead.
Is that true, Caitlin?
Who's your driver?
Dad.
Yeah, see? If you had to pick another driver, who would it be? Who? Piper. Kyle Busch. He likes the M&Ms.
Wow. All right. A lot of drivers we've talked to have talked about this time and said that it's made them think differently about retirement on both sides of that conversation. How's that been like for you? What have you thought having this glimpse into life if you didn't have racing?
Yeah, well, honestly, I've never not been involved in the I've never not been involved in the racing side of the world. Sorry, I have food in my mouth now. I don't even know what I'm eating. Chocolate chip, peanut butter bites.
Perfect breakfast.
So I haven't been this.
Finish my breakfast.
Oh, that's probably why. Those are good.
I didn't finish my lunch.
You didn't finish your lunch either. But I think the interaction for me is the thing that I missed. You know, when we get done with all this, you know, I think things will be different, and they'll be different in our house in the way that things function. Like, we may never go to the grocery store again because it's, you know, we've got our favorites on the grocery store apps. We've talked through it. You know, the groceries get delivered. I mean, there are a number of things like that are going to be different when we go.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for bringing your adorable little ones into this conversation.
No problem.
It makes me want to be there. Is there anything before we say goodbye that you would like to say to your fans?
Just everybody hang in there. This is a crazy time, and we're just like you guys. We're trying to figure it all out and adapt to everything that's going on. But everybody stay strong, and we're all in this together. So remember that as everything that you're feeling, everybody else is feeling too. So don't be scared to reach out to somebody you hadn't talked to, or somebody that's around you, because everybody needs that same interaction right now that you need.
Kevin, thank you so much. Thanks, Keelan. Tell Piper thank you.
All right, thank you.
Man, it looks like those Harvicks have their hands full over there. But seriously, I love watching Kevin Harvick race on the track, as I'm sure a lot of you do. But I really enjoyed this conversation because I appreciate how real he was. And that's why I want to say a big thank you to all of the drivers that have been willing to let us into their homes, take us behind the scenes so we could convey a different, more real side of them to you, the fans. Also, we want to mention that these conversations are going to be happening every night. You can see them on RaceHub at 6 on FS1. And I want to say thank you from myself, from Fox, from the fans, to all medical personnel, all delivery workers, all essential employees out there who continue to put themselves in harm's way so that we can all get through this safely. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Czarniak.